Okay, so one thing I want to talk about while I'm on here making videos is how I grow annual plants. And I've been growing annual plants, I'd say this is about my third year, which is a long time since I'm 18 for people my age. And I feel like every year the way that I've gone about it has kind of like changed. But I think that I really kind of like, I finally found the real solution that I've been looking for. So I want to talk about that a little bit. But so where I started, I just want to first talk about where I started. And I can show an example of this. I just pan the video over here. Maybe I can find a piece of, cardboard. Okay, so cardboard no-till with classic Charles Dowding method is really where when I decided I was going to grow annual plants, that's where I started, because it just somehow I didn't think to till, because I had like looked up videos, how to grow a garden, and the first thing that came up when I looked up the feed was no-till garden. So I learned the Charles Dowding method, which is a great method. The only thing about the Charles Dowding method for me is that the inputs are very high, and since I'm a teenager growing out of my mom's backyard, I don't have money. So going to the store, buying compost, it's not easy. It's kind of a drag. My mom does not like to take me to Home Depot. So I started the Charles Dowding method, and it works very well. And I kind of leaned into my own method of just using a rock to keep the cardboard down to keep out the weeds. So that worked well, but it wasn't really the solution that I was looking for. I was looking for something that required absolutely no inputs. And obviously cardboard is an input. So I started looking to tilling, and I think tilling is great. I really do. And I even tilled this season, even though I think it was a mistake. I think that if you have a good system of tilling, keep doing it. Definitely it can work. But I think also what I wanted, especially in the Florida sandy soil too, it was not really working for me. So here I have some corn that I just chopped and dropped that I tilled in. And this is where I want to talk about this year's. I have some brassicas that I tilled in. And so another reason why tilling is not really working for me is I think tilling works really well if you have good inputs. So again, like the Charles Dowding method, if you do a layer of compost every year, tilling is going to work very well for you. But for me, last year when I did no-till with the cardboard, I was already getting a harvest of mustard greens by mid-October in South Florida. So I realized this year, now it's late October, November, and I've still got another month going on this mustard greens, I shouldn't till. So, I really was just kind of like, well, next year I guess I'll till. What else is there to do? I'm trying to go zero inputs, and I don't really worry too much either about gardening. I wasn't like, this method isn't gonna work. But I saw on YouTube somebody in India was growing cover crops, and they were chopping them down in a very, very specific way, just where the root met the soil. So they weren't tilling them in or chilling them down or anything. They were just chopping them and dropping them in a very, very specific way. And I wouldn't say they were dropping them, they were chopping their cover crop and then rolling it up and then laying it back on the field and allowing their seeds to sprout up through that. That method is kind of how I did this. And as you can see here, I don't know if you guys can see that. Hold on, I'm gonna have to use a flashlight because it's just starting to get dark. There's some brassica seedlings, some brassica seedlings, some brassica seedlings. I got a whole thing of brassica seedlings coming up here. It's completely no-till, and all I did was I just cut the fallow orchard floor here just at the base, and I had the brassica seedlings coming up. And then over here too, I want to show this. My cat sat on it, so this, I was not expecting it to come up at all, by the way. This is a tomato. So, and the reason I wasn't expecting anything to come up out of here is because this is too thick. So, hold on, I'll talk about it. So, what I did was I read from this guy in India. His name is Krishna something. He's like white, even though his name's Krishna. Excuse me. And he's cool. He reads Misinobu Foku's One Straw Revolution online too. And he was showing how he does his method of rice cultivation. And he does a cover crop of beans and rice. So anyway, what he does is he spreads out the seeds before he takes down the cover crop, and then he rolls it up like I said. Anyway, I learned that, and it's very, very similar to the method that Misinobu Foku uses in One Straw Revolution, or whatever his books that he has. And one of the things that he says is that the cover crop cannot be laid too thick. And so I think one of the reasons why this grass, so I had grass growing here. Hold on, I'll flip it around. I had grass growing here. I still have a little bit of grass growing, but I had grass growing here, and over here I had Biden's elbow growing. You can see a little bit of Biden's elbows coming back up. So I think that in the future, if I decide to use grass as a cover crop, I need to make sure that it is laid less thick so that I can have better germination. So now that I showed the method that I think is gonna work for me 100% for the future, because I think that now I understand that you can grow no-till with no inputs, which is huge for me because I don't have any money. So I'm really looking for no input gardening, like heavy. You know, of course, if you have money and your input methods are working, that's great. Like every situation is unique, and every gardener knows the lay of their land the best. So I'm not here to try to tell anybody how to grow their food. But what I am here to tell you is that the problem with this method is it requires a lot of seeds. So I think, well, first of all, I was already using a lot of seeds to begin with in my till method. So it's definitely a step up. I wasn't using so much seeds in the no-till method because that's a transplant method. But I think maybe if I'm really trying to save seeds, I think what the move is next year is to get it thinner and just sprinkle one by one where I want the seeds to go. So that way I can try to use less seeds. But I'm not too sure if that's gonna work 100% because this method is 100% dry farm. So, you know, the seeds are going to have issues it's gonna be scattered anyway. I don't know, maybe I'll try to do like a transplant next year with this method and have better success, but I don't really like to do transplants because that requires a whole lot of inputs. So I'm not too worried about it, but I just wanted to talk about the method that I'm using to do my annual plants here in South Florida, and the methods that I've used, and the pros and cons for the method that I am currently using and that I will be using in the future. So thank you. So one thing that I want to make more clear is why I don't use cardboard. So there's about two main reasons why I don't use cardboard. First of all, cardboard is great. It's really easy to get. It's like, you could get it from Trader Joe's bags, you get it from Amazon. It's an abundant, overly abundant resource in the house that's underused. And if you're a gardener, it's great. So, but there's about two reasons why I stopped using cardboard. And the first reason is that it's very difficult to direct sow with cardboard. I tried many different methods with cardboard, with direct sowing, and each and every single method did not work very well. So that's the first method. And the reason I got so obsessed with direct sowing is because, number one, if I ever wanted to scale, transplanting is not an option at large scale. So I want to be able to have this method of agriculture in the back of my pocket if I ever need to scale. You know, I don't want to be, oh, well, my method isn't scalable because you can't you can't transplant at a huge scale, right? I mean, you can transplant at scale. Like, there are many gardeners that transplant on like 4 or 5 acres, but I'm thinking bigger than that. And number two is the cardboard, not the Trader Joe's bag. Trader Joe's bags are great. If you have a lot of Trader Joe's bags and and you're fine with transplanting, and you don't ever think you want to scale up your garden to like a huge thing or whatever, you know, I think that the rock and the cardboard method is great, or cardboard and compost too. You know, obviously, you know the layout of your land the best. I don't think I would recommend the rock and the cardboard method to somebody that lived on clay soil, because clay soil doesn't like bounce back like the sand soil. You wouldn't believe how quickly the sand soil just bounces back. You just need just one amendment, and it's good for life. Anyway, enough of that. The second reason that I stopped using cardboard is because of the plastic, and it was starting to pollute my garden, all of the plastic things. So I just stopped using it. Yeah, so cardboard stopped becoming an option for me.